everyone, and welcome to the short 10-minute presentation. We're testing our webinar software along with a soft launch of our learning portal, which we'll explain in just a moment for you. We're trying to test today if it's all working, and if not, please feel free to send us a message using the on-screen chat or after the 10-minute demo. For those of you on the live version, I promise you it won't be any longer than that. Feel free to use the chat or voice. I know some of you have already found that feature, but we will be using my webcam today. The aim is not to use yours. By default, it's actually closed, but you can open it later on if you wish to have a play and you're on the live version with us to see how it works. So let's, fingers crossed, let's get going and welcome our guests. Rob from Latitude Safety, Martin from Elmhurst, Dave from Asenbury, Jane from Denholm White, Roy from Blue Cactus Software, Phil from Denholm White, who is having problems joining us because he's in the middle of London, and Ron from BAM Construction and one of our clients, Rack Storage Systems. So thank you all for being here today, and obviously to those viewing it as a podcast or webcast later on. If you've not used Engage before, not dissimilar to Skype and other similar products or FaceTime, similar icons where you want to share your desktop, switch your mic on. What you can do with Zoom is to make notes on what we call the whiteboard. You can join the messages by sending or having short chats with us on the message option. Two versions, one is for the group and the other one is for the meeting leader. So you have a choice when you actually type out your chat on screen. And the camera, that's not the recording button, which often gets confused with. That's actually to allow us to see you and your with your webcam if you have a webcam facility. Obviously at the moment it's switched off. Now for those that haven't used this particular software before, there are two toolbars, one at the top which you can see here says you are viewing my screen, and the one at the bottom which we'll share with you here, which gives us a number of controls. So let's just for the moment put my video back on. And you should have me there looking very bright and red as though I've been out in the sun all day, and I haven't. Let's look at the options on the bottom of your screen. So we have the mute button on the bottom left-hand side, which we've circled there. And we also have the start video, which we've talked about already. So mine is now live, as you can see here at DW. You can see all the participants on the live version. You will see their names and where they have opened the webcams. You'll be able to see their faces as well. You can share documents, as you can with many proprietary products similar to Zoom. We're not using that feature today. We are using the chat, and I'm going to be recording the complete program for the next 10 minutes, which in many cases some of you are going to be watching as a webcast or a podcast. And of course, if you get fed up, you can leave the meeting at any time. So if you want to get rid of the video clip that's live at the top, you can drag it and drop it. I'm going to close the video for now. And you will find another one will appear on the screen here, and it will demonstrate that you can just simply click and drag and take it down. There's another toolbar which I failed to mention at the top, which is where we want to use the whiteboard. Again, time permitting, we're going to use that feature as well later today. So there we go, there's the video of me looking not quite so red-faced, and drag it and push it away or click X and get rid of it completely. Like most companies, big or large, we have a mission statement. We won't read all of it here, but we'll just talk about what we're here to do, and that's to make learning fun. And hopefully you'll get a feel for that when we show you the content that we're sharing with you today. If you haven't already found us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and our web pages for our website, please go and visit. And if you've got any feedback about this live event, or if you're watching it as a podcast or a webcast, again, we'd love your views. So please go onto those sites and post away. I'm sure everything will be positive, and it'll be good to see your feedback. So a little bit about what we do and who we are, starting with Engage. Engage is a webinar product hosted by Zoom, which is what we're doing on the live event today. And we are using it as a tool to link our face-to-face training and our e-learning with our learning portal. So effectively, it's a tool that joins the two together to help engage with learners. I'm sure more will become obvious when you see it in just a minute. So let's tell you what we're not doing today. Engage does have the facility to have multi-screen. So if we had 10 or 12 people on the call, we could share the pictures across the top of the screen. We're not using that today, but it is a feature available on Zoom. We also have voting, or polling as it's often referred to as, where people can actually respond to questions and answers. And of course, the good old-fashioned raise your hand, just like being back at school. So if you want to attract the attention of the speaker or the facilitator, you can simply click on here to raise or ask a question. Now, for those on the live version today, that's an option that's only available on the iPhone currently, but will be available on all in the future. Thinking outside the tick box, I can't say it, is actually the product that we create digital learning content. So this is the predominantly e-learning created with two authoring tools, one of which is Articulate Storyline. The other one is Adobe Captivate. You'll see an example of a very simple version of something produced with Articulate Storyline in just a moment, which sits on our learning portal. The difference is our learning portal, and what we'd like to do is share with you a very, very quick demo, and it is only going to be brief because probably you'll get more out of going live by asking for access to it and having a look and having a play at your own leisure. So the difference here is simply accessed by a sign-in via an email. So the users have to have an email address. Doesn't matter if there isn't a company one, they can open a Google account or a Gmail or an Outlook account and simply sign in with that email address and of course a password. Nice and simple here, doesn't have to be anything long or lengthy. And for those of you concerned about GDPR issues, we have actually produced a paper on that which we will send you on request. We anticipate that most of our users are going to be using tablets or phones. So as a result, landscape style and some simple infographics. And here is the home page that the user would see. Probably too much of a toolbar on this illustration here, but you can see simple graphics. If you were the manager, or I prefer to call it administrator, there's a couple of other icons on here, such as reports and teams that you would have. But the user has something very similar, and they either go to their course catalog if they're not sure what they need to be doing, or they go to what's new, which tells them what's available and what they should be doing. Now, this is where we go live, so if it's going to go wrong at all, of course, if you're watching the webinar screencast version afterwards, I will have edited these errors out, but hopefully there aren't going to be too many. And there we go, live onto our Learning Portal login page. So for those of you that use Chrome, and many people will be, we'll push the F11 button just to get rid of that toolbar, and we log in using our username and our password that we've created. So this is the first page you would see. It's going to take us, in this case, because we've already logged in once, to the course catalogs. Very simple. Courses here record e-learning, classroom-based or instructor-led training, course groups, which is what the webinar would be. And today's event, if you're watching the live version, is the Engage webinar. So typically the link would be here to today's event. And if you're watching the recorded version, there will be a copy of the podcast or webcast button here so you can watch the recording. But for this demo, we're actually going to go to an e-learning module that was created for one of our clients. Now, onboarding, often referred to as induction. So this is an induction course designed for new starters into a business. It's our elementary program, so it's aimed at, in this case, drivers, shop floor, shop staff. We are going to go back to where I was looking earlier on today, which will be, and I'll turn the sound down, two of me. Most of our e-learning modules will start with a corporate video, which runs for 30 seconds about the business, and then it's followed by a series of pre-questions designed to make the learner understand why they're doing the course in the first place. Obviously, we're trying to encourage people not to do it because they're told to do it, but because there is a need, and that's explained in the first slides. So before I can move on, there needs to be some form of activity or engagement with the learning. Now, this particular version was designed to be quite visual, although the first page, unfortunately, has a lot of text, but it disappears and very quickly is replaced with visual images for the user. So there we go, quick example of e-learning. There's a lot of e-learning about. This one's been produced as an off-the-shelf, as not an off-the-shelf offer, but as a bespoke course. It lasts around about 20 minutes. So we will close the screen. We will leave our learning portal for just a minute and go back to our homepage for the learning portal for users. So that was an example of our elementary level. We have 3 tiers, and that is the starter and the starting point. We also have a number of other products, but today is probably not the time to share them with you, but please do contact us if you'd like to know more about it. So I'm going to put the video back on. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank my guests for today's live event and for their support and help. And if they would like to stay on and have a play with any of the other tools, they are more than welcome to do so. Those on the live version will also receive a copy of a SurveyMonkey link for your feedback, and thank you very much for that. So I will say thank you for everyone that's attended today. Thank you for your time watching this, and have a good day. Bye-bye.